Oh man, we finally did it. We made some Warhammer fan art. So, for those of you who don't know, Warhammer is a tabletop war game involving miniatures and dice and rulers and things like that. But it's also probably my all-time favorite sci-fi property, setting, media, anything like that. I just love it so much, so I just wanted to talk about it. That's what we're doing today. We're just talking about how much I like Warhammer. But basically, my history with the game goes back to, I think, around middle school, which is probably way too young for someone to be playing an ultra-violent game like that. But it's okay, because it's just miniatures. They're just little models. But anyway, I had some friends in middle school whose parents were like pretty avid hobbyists, and you know, I went over to their house and they had some Warhammer models. And I was like, "Yo, what are these? These are super cool, etc., etc." And then I just knew that I needed to get some. So of course, you know, like any child starting a hobby, I just begged my parents until they finally gave in and got some Warhammer stuff going. This was back in, I think, the 3rd edition of the game. It's now a 9th edition, so this is ancient history. My brother and we got the starter set for, I want to say it was Christmas for 1 year, which was Space Marines versus Dark Eldar for that edition. I'm getting ahead of myself though. Space Marines. Well, you've probably heard of Space Marines before. They're the poster boys of the franchise. If you know Warhammer, you know Space Marines. And that's the armory that I chose to collect and build back in middle school. The faction of Space Marines that I chose were called Ultramarines. And the reason I chose them was because their color scheme was the same colors that my parents' university was, University of Michigan. That also happened to be my eventual alma mater as well. It's literally the reason I chose that entire team, was because their colors were blue and yellow, like the university I wanted to go to at the time. You know, back in middle school years, that's a completely logical conclusion, I think. But the reason, it's not just that I enjoyed it during middle school playing with friends. The reason that it stuck around with me for so long, even taking a break from the hobby itself for a very long time. I only recently got back into it this past year during sort of quarantine. I've had ample time to pick up a hobby like it again. The reason that it's stuck around with me for so long is just the setting and the lore and the kind of world that Games Workshop has constructed around this far future universe. I think it's one of the most unique fantasy sci-fi settings that's ever been created. And the reason for it, the reason for its uniqueness, I think, is really quite a simple one. Is like, you see a lot of the same tropes in other sci-fi properties. You got evil space bugs, you got evil robots, you got, you know, laser guns and teleportation and like all of the classic sci-fi things. But what Warhammer does that I think is really unique and really difficult to pull off as well as they did was they just take the volume knob on like all of those genres and tropes and mainstays of sci-fi and just crank it up to 11, 12, 13. They just keep cranking the volume up further and further until the volume knob breaks off. That's Warhammer for you. To give an example, the normal gun that humans use, the Imperium of Mankind uses, the normal standard issue gun for like Space Marines, Sisters of Battle, some of the Imperial Guard, is called the Bolter. That's kind of like the or bolt gun. That's kind of like the normal, that's the iconic weaponry for humans in the Warhammer universe. And it's a fully automatic gun, and it shoots rocket propelled grenades. Like every bullet is an RPG. And that's the normal gun that people use in the future, which I think is just incredible. They're also massive. Usually the people wielding them are Space Marines, and Space Marines themselves are like, you know, 8 feet tall, sort of transhuman, evolved and modified biology. They got like extra organs, they got like bonus hearts and like, you know, acid spit and all of this like nuts combat sort of genetic modifications going on with them. So that's, they got like 11 extra organs or something like that, and that's just for the normal Space Marines. And they wield these massive guns that shoot literally like RPG sized rounds. Like they're actually, like when I say RPGs, they're not like bullet sized RPGs, they're RPG sized RPGs. So that's like one of the things that I really like about this universe, is it's just like the amplitude, you know, just like the degree in which they take things is so far, that Warhammer is known for establishing this genre called grimdark, which is sort of like everything's awful all the time forever. It's just like so terrible to a degree that's almost hilarious looking at it from the outside, but they take it like very seriously. And there's something that's just kind of like endearing about that, just to see like how far they take things and how absolutely nuts everything is. Like if you think like Mad Max is like an absolutely insane version of the future, like that's like baby stuff compared to Warhammer. But yeah, that's kind of the reason it stuck with me for all these years, is because it just has this sort of reckless abandon in which they tackle thematics and universe lore that is really just absolutely unique and unable to be found literally anywhere else. I haven't even talked about what I'm drawing yet. But what this is a sister of battle who is the part of the all-female Adeptus Ministorum contingent, Adeptus Sororitas, and they're basically nuns with guns, battle nuns, religious fanatics who follow something called the Imperial Cult. So the Imperium of Mankind is one of the biggest empires in the entire galaxy, and it was established during the Emperor's Crusades. The Emperor of Mankind being an extremely powerful psychic being who died, well, kind of died. He's dead-ish. It's complicated. But basically, he's this immensely powerful figure who is basically on continuous life support right now, and has turned into sort of a religious icon. The kind of irony there being that he was totally atheistic himself and hated organized religion, and has become a godlike figure, sort of despite all of his protest and despite all of his efforts to not do so. So the Adeptus Sororitas and Adeptus Ministorum basically worship the Church of the Emperor, and their main enemy are the forces of chaos, which were unleashed famously during the conflict in which the Emperor died. So this is a sister of battle. She's just chilling. It's a moment of respite, you know. I'm paying homage to you know, the lo-fi girl meme with this one, because I thought it would be a really good fit. I wanted to see what a lo-fi, like there was a trend a little while back of the lo-fi girls in a lot of different universes, and I wanted to see what a Warhammer one would look like, and I thought Sister of Battle was perfect. I thought getting a servo skull out there instead of a cat was perfect, and everything just kind of fell into place after that. Servo skulls, one of the sort of ubiquitous symbols of Warhammer 40k and the Imperium, is basically, without getting too deep into it, a human brain of like someone important, like maybe a soldier, a good soldier, or like a scientist or a researcher, you know, some, or even like a religious or authoritative figure of any kind. They are kind of given this gift post-mortem after they die to be turned into a semi-computer that still has a brain in it. And that's what Servos skulls are. It's like a cybernetic skull of a dead person, basically. And they're basically just like little floaty computers. They're fantastic pets. You know, actual mammals and such don't really exist. Like, there are cats and dogs technically, but they're exceedingly rare, I think. Essentially extinct on the galactic scale, you know. Yeah, I just thought this was the perfect application of a lo-fi girl piece. And I've been wanting to do some Warhammer stuff for a really long time now, basically since I got back into the hobby. And this just seemed like the perfect opportunity to wet my feet into it again. Lit up by the glow of her cogitators. That's the other thing that's just amazing about Warhammer lore, is like the names for everything. I think my favorite part about humans in Warhammer lore is they literally forgot all technology. You can see just from the iconography and everything that this, although it's in the future, it looks like it's in sort of medieval times, and that's very intentional. The literal setting is called like the Dark Age of Technology, I think. And it's very reminiscent of Dark Age of like medieval periods. And it's just, they've basically developed all this insane advanced technology and then totally forgot how to use it through a very like long, well, here's what happened is they built some robots, and oops, the robots gain sentience as they do sometimes. So they fought a war against those robots, and during that war, basically like the entire knowledge base of human technology was lost. And it was also decreed shortly after that experimenting with technology and developing new technology was highly dangerous, which makes sense if you just fought like a, you know, centuries long war against sentient robots that destroyed nearly the entire galaxy. You know, I can see how you might come to that conclusion. But basically, after that, yeah, new technology research was like forbidden, new development was forbidden. So all they had to do was maintain old stuff, basically, and through that they just eventually lost the knowledge after thousands and thousands of years of total stagnant innovation. But yeah, that's just a short history of the Imperium of Mankind. I'll probably be doing some more Warhammer art in the future, and I'll probably be doing some more, maybe some hobby content in the future. I'd love to show off some of my hobby stuff when I get a chance to. But as we come to the end of this video here, hopefully I was able to communicate at least a little bit about what I like so much about Warhammer, and I highly encourage people to check out some like Wikipedia entries on it. You know, check out the wikis. That's where a lot of this information is easily accessible, and you can see just how ridiculous and how awesome it is. But this is my finished piece here, and if you enjoyed this video, absolutely encourage you to leave a comment, leave a like, maybe subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.